Hello all and welcome to Astro Wheel of Fortune. My name is Vlada and I read tarot, and today I am doing the Major Arcana card, Strength. So we are going to be doing a reading on the Strength card, just similarly as I've done on all the Major Arcanas that come before Strength card in the Rider-Waite Smith Tarot. So this one is going to be very interesting because in tarot, the card that came after the Chariot card used to be Justice. So the eighth card, the eighth Major Arcana card in tarot before the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot used to be Justice, and some decks still follow that tradition of putting the Justice card in the eighth position. But for some reason, the position was switched to Strength in the Rider-Waite Tarot. So the book that I'm referring to is, as most of you know if you're watching this series, is the Tarot History, Symbolism, and Divination by Robert M. Place. I recommend you check it out if you are interested in tarot. But it says here, where do I'll start from the start. The Marseille woman on the Strength trump has a hat similar to the Magician's. She's therefore given the name Lemonsate in this deck. In the Golden Dawn's table of correspondences, this card is linked with the astrological sign Leo, which is why Strength with her lion was placed here with what is the traditional position of Justice, which makes sense. You know, Leo comes after Cancer. The Chariot card is represented by Cancer energy, so the Strength card was put in place. I did read something here. Switching the positions of Strength and Justice disrupts the Platonic meaning and suggests that Waite was unaware of it. So, whether the change of the position is super mindful or not, we don't really know. But I felt like I wanted to go with the Strength card next because I am using the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. So it makes sense for me to continue on with the natural progression of the deck rather than fit the more traditional narrative, which would be the Justice card would be next. But again, things shapeshift and change, and you know, what's meant to be is meant to be, and so the Strength card is meant to be in this position with the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. So anyway, that's just a little introduction I wanted to give into the Strength card because it had been adjusted. But let's get into what the Strength card actually wants to tell us. So let's get into it. So we've got the Strength card here. So I would recommend, if you haven't watched the other videos on the Major Arcana cards, please check them out. It could really help you to watch them before watching this one because sometimes I refer to the previous cards. So let's get into it. Oh my god, no way, we've got the Chariot card coming out. Okay, that is so cool that we've got the Chariot card coming out first. So the Chariot card, which literally comes before the Strength card in this deck, is out. So the Strength card, what does it want us to know? What does it want to say to us? Let's get into it. Okay. So the Chariot card, we discussed about the goals. We discussed about the aspirations. You know, you can watch that video if you want. I won't go too far into what we discussed with the Chariot card. Make sure to check it out. The playlist is called Tarot by Tarot. So all the Major Arcana readings are going to be in that playlist. With the Chariot being here, I am picking up on the fact that currently in this energy, as we read the Strength card, it is really important for us to refer to the energies of the Chariot card. Okay. So what I'm seeing is that the Strength card refers to the goals and aspirations that we set for ourselves. And it lets us know that there are many ways that we can go about it. For example, with the Strength card represents strength or force. And force can be, you know, I'm going to take something by force, or you can be a force that bends things to your will. So when it comes to your goals and aspirations, wow, this is actually very powerful. you can use the Force. Oh my God, this is like Star Wars. Did I mention Star Wars in another one of these readings? For some reason, I feel like I have. So you can either use the Force, you can create a force and take something by force, or you can embody the Force. Wow. Okay. You can embody the Force, be the Force, and you will be able to bend things to your will. So again, I honestly feel like the major arcana almost represents to me when I look at these cards, and the more I do these readings, it's like the process of manifesting your life, the process of just like living your life in order to bring things into reality. And if the Chariot card was talking about being prepared, having belief in yourself, having faith in yourself in order to go after goals and aspirations. The Strength card talks about embodying the force, the strength, the willpower that bends things to your will, that you don't need to use force. It's like when you use force or kind of like forceful strength, it's kind of like you're utilizing force from a more external point of view. But when you are strength and force itself, you don't need to rely on like forceful energy, because you already have that force like absorbed by you, or like you are absorbed by the force, or the force is absorbed within you. So you can either be the force or you can use force. That's the way that I'm seeing this. That's what the Strength card wants us to know. And in order to embody the force, is what I'm getting, is you need to be exceptionally patient and consistent with yourself. And it's funny because the Magician has this infinity symbol above his head. And again, it's reminding me of manifesting things. If you're manifesting something, you know, they always say about needing to embody the energy of the thing that you're trying to manifest. Embody it's like the Strength card was really the card of empowerment. You can either embody empowerment or you can use power over someone. So again, embody the force and be the force itself, or use force. Using force will never be as powerful as embodying the force itself. Overpowering something will never be sorry, my camera is shaking. Overpowering something will never be as powerful as being empowered in yourself and things and people and energies drawing to your power. That's what the Strength card reminds us of. And in that, in order to be empowered, in order to be the force, you need to tame something within yourself. As the lion represents taming something, you need to tame something within yourself. In order to be a force to be reckoned with. Because, so it's like, oh, I suppose that's where this comes in. You can either tame a forceful energy within you that wants to use force and become the force itself, or you can be consumed by the force within you that wants to be forceful with things outside of you and be consumed by the force. You tame the force. Are you in control of your own force, of your own power? Or are you, because you've embodied it, because you've listened to it, because you've understood it? Or are you, or is the force going to consume you? It's like, have you learned how to tame your force or the lion? Or is the lion going to eat you? And in order to go after any goal, any aspiration, any sort of thing that you want, you can't go after it if the force within you is consuming you. You can't go after it if the force, the power, we all have power within us, but it is untamed, and it is our job to tame that power. That's what the Strength card reminds us of. It's about the fact that you can have as many goals and aspirations as you want. You could have a lot of faith in yourself. You could be very prepared to go out to the battle, like we were talking in the Chariot card, the king going out to the battle. You could be feeling very prepared. But if the force within you, the power within you is not tamed by you, is not understood, because to tame something is to understand it. For example, I've given this example many times in readings, where if you want to tame like a wild animal that maybe has had, you know, a lot of erratic energy, or maybe even was even abused, this animal is not going to trust you if you use force and you grab the animal and you say, sit, like, for example, let's say a rescue cat. If you take a rescue cat and you make them sit with you and by force, that cat is never going to trust you. That cat is just going to get traumatized further. The way that you tame that cat is that you show that cat that you understand it. How do you understand that cat? You observe it, you spend time with it, you give it reassurance energetically. So it's the feeling of understanding that beast within you. And that makes me think of the shadow side. You know what? I think the Strength card is a lot more connected to the shadow and shadow work, a lot more than I gave it credit for in the past. I'm hearing yes. I think the Strength card is actually the perfect embodiment of shadow work. It's when you sit with the beast within you, the beast that wants to control, the beast that wants to, not even control, but wants to overpower. There's an instinct to overpower something. There's an instinct. So I suppose, so what the Strength card also reminds us of is that every single person on earth has the instinct to overpower something, to be in control or in power over something. And if you want to overpower something, that means that you are not empowered. So the way to empower yourself is to sit with the side of you, with the beast within you that wants to overpower, and understand it, listen to it, observe it, and like befriend it even. We have to befriend our shadow side in order for that shadow side to not lash out and for us to be able to go after our aspirations and goals effectively. Nine of Cups. This is again the card of manifestation. It's more so like, also it's the card of gratitude. Being grateful and like fulfillment and satisfaction, having a certain level of satisfaction that breeds or creates gratitude. Someone sneezed outside. I'm going to take that as a confirmation that the Strength card is connected to gratitude. So what I'm getting is that the Strength card is strongly connected to gratitude and that feeling of, I'm so satisfied that I couldn't be more grateful. I suppose if you are taming the beast within you and you're taming this force within you in order to embody the force. So it's like we need to embody our shadow side and be grateful for our shadow side in order to be a powerhouse. You can't be a powerhouse without embodying your shadow side. But it's not in a way of like, I'm going to act from my shadow side. I'm going to act from a place where I understand my shadow side and I am a friend to my shadow side through and through. The Strength card, that makes me think that Leos are actually very powerful at shadow work. And not to say that I, ever thought that they weren't, but it just gives me that energy of like Leo energy is very powerful at shadow. I suppose it's true because if you think a lot of Leo energy is about showcasing yourself and being visible And I suppose it's like not being insecure about whether you're, the visible parts of you are bad or good, and just being like, well, this is me. This is who I am. The strength card really, to me, now that I'm looking at these cards, is representing being grateful even for the part of you that seems like a beast, and maybe even like parts of you that seem uncouth or like uncivilized even. The strength card represents where the civilized part of you and the uncivilized part of you, in inverted commas, come together to befriend each other, to understand each other, and to create a pocket of power that will allow you to manifest your greatest desires and dreams and goals. We've got the Page of Cups. With the Page of Cups, I often think of sensitivity. So the Strength card is strongly connected to sensitivity. Being sensitive to the beast being sensitive to the beast within you, because the beast within you is just a baby. Just like a lion or in any animal, like, again, going back to the cat. If you were looking at a cat, you're not treating it as this adult entity. You're treating it as like, this is just a baby. They don't understand. They don't understand that I'm trying to help them. Recognize the Strength card is about this more elevated or evolved version of you within you, understanding that the other version of you, the shadow version of you, doesn't understand that the evolved version of you is trying to help them, is trying to heal them, work with them, recognizing that there's energies within ourselves that will be conflicted with each other, and that the more elevated, the more evolved part of us needs to have the understanding that this could be connected to the inner child as well with the Page of Cups, but it's like, it's so much more than that. Recognizing that our shadow self, it's like that scared, rescued cat, doesn't understand that the evolved version of us, the more conscious, the more the word civilized keeps coming to mind, but I don't want to even use, for some reason that word doesn't sit right with me. I guess the more aware, the more conscious version of us is just trying to help the shadow version of us. But when we're in our shadow, because we will step into our shadow from time to time, when we're in our shadow, we won't know, like, we will be in a place where we're acting out of our shadow. We're not even considering the conscious side of us, the evolved side of us. We see the evolved side of us that is, maybe it's trying to hurt us, maybe it's trying to, so seeing the Strength card, not only from the perspective of this woman, this maiden that's trying to tame the lion and trying to tame the force, our shadow is our power. Our shadow is our power, but we also need to understand that power is scared. The power within us is scared of what it can do, of what it's capable of. The shadow side is powerful, but it doesn't. It's almost like it knows it's powerful, but it's afraid of doing more damage. Damage control is something that's coming through with the Strength card here for me as well. We've got the Eight of Cups as well. The Strength card is about recognizing that there are two sides of us. a side that is completely instinctual and again, kind of, the word uncouth is the best way that I can put it. But it doesn't mean that it's any less valuable because it's so powerful. Wild. There's a wild version of us that exists, like a wilderness kind of energy that exists within us. And that energy, that side of us is so, so, so important. But it's like it needs to be tamed, but taming something does not equate to it being overpowered. The shadow side should not be overpowered. The shadow side should be understood, observed. It's kind of like wildlife, how we try to put like animals in zoos and we try to observe them from a point, like, you know, there's scientists that will observe nature in a very respectful way where they will not touch that nature, they will not touch that wilderness, they will not interfere with that wilderness by force. There will be no force applied to the wilderness in order to observe it. But then there will also be scientists or researchers who will apply force, who will imprison animals, take animals in order to experiment or whatever it is. And so the right way to do it is to observe the wilderness, to understand the wilderness on its based on the wilderness's boundaries. It's like if you are dealing with a wild animal, if you want to tame a wild animal, you have to respect the boundaries. And it's exactly the same as with any human. If you're trying to be a friend with a human or a partner with a human, you can't force them into a connection with you. You can't force them into a relationship with you. If you want a good, powerful relationship, you need to come closer and closer and closer together from a point of view of observation and a mutual understanding. The Strength card is so powerful. Like, why is the woman in the Strength card so powerful? It's not because she is forcing the animal into submission. It's because she understands the animal enough in order to... She has submitted to the animal in a way in order to understand it. And so the animal is now comfortable enough to submit to her. She chose to submit to the animal's instincts and the animal's energy before the animal submits to her in a way, is what I'm kind of interpreting this as. And I also see with the Eight of Cups being here, the Strength card also represents a level of detachment. Like, if the energy that I am trying to work with so that it will submit to me, and I'm submitting to it in order to submit it to me, it's like surrender. If you want to manifest something, the Strength card tells you, if you want to manifest something, you need to submit to what you're manifesting first before it will submit to you. If you want to become a writer, I'm hearing. So if you want to become a writer, you may need to submit to the energies of the writing industry first before the writing industry submits to you. How do you tame a beast? You tame yourself first. I feel like there's more with the Strength card. Like, I'm getting the energies kind of... There's a lot that the Strength card wants to say, I feel, in this reading. Seven of Cups. So imagination also plays a big role into the Strength card. Makes sense because the Leo energy, fifth house energy also, very much about creativity, self-expression, but utilizing your imagination there as well. Imagination is really important. Utilizing your imagination in order to evolve yourself can help, because I'm getting with the shadow side is coming through with the imagination. the evolved version of you, or whatever you want to call it, utilizes imagination to see what's possible. The shadow side of you, the shadow energy within you, utilizes imagination to see like the worst case scenario. And that needs to be understood as well. That these two sides of you, one is able to imagine, what if this happens? And this is, if you're living from your shadow, you are living in worst case scenario imagination. If you are living from, I'm taming my shadow, which means I'm not forcing my shadow, I'm understanding and observing and working with my shadow. I'm cooperating with my shadow. That means I can imagine from a place of optimism more. So when your imagination is set off from, oh my God, this is so cool. So if you're someone who thinks worst case scenario about things, when you're thinking worst case scenario and your imagination spreads to the worst case scenario, that's usually coming from your shadow, but that also means that it's coming from a very powerful place. But when you're able to imagine best case scenario, that means your evolved side of you is in the driver's seat. But what they're doing is they're utilizing the power from the shadow side. The imagination comes from, like, our imagination comes from our shadow in a way for the most part, but it's just either it comes directly from our shadow or the shadow is filtered through the evolved energy. And so the shadow, or it's like in tandem with the evolved energy. And I'm hearing fear is imagination. Fear is imagination. I suppose the 12th house in astrology strongly connected to fears, but also imagination. Fear is imagination. That's all fear is. It's imagination. Yes, it can be based on events of the past, real events that happened, but the fear, because what fear is always of what is coming, right? You're only afraid of what's to come, because you could be afraid of things that hurt you in the past, but it's only from a perspective fear. I'm afraid that things that hurt me in the past will hurt me in the future. So fear is very future oriented. Fear doesn't exist. Really, if you were sitting in the present moment and you're really connected to the present moment, whatever you're scared of, if you said, well, what's happening right now in the present moment, you were able to ground yourself, you would realize there's no fear, because none of those things that I'm afraid of are actually happening in the present moment. Unless it is something scary that's happening in the present moment, well, then your instincts go in. But if you're in a secure place, if you're just at home overthinking something, right? That's why we meditate. You sit down and you say to yourself, okay, none of those things are happening right now. I'm safe, I'm secure, yada, yada, yada. The past, the fear, the thing that made you fear something has already happened. So like that, the fear was maybe informed by the past, but you're not afraid that something is going to happen in the past again. It's impossible for it to happen in the past. Fear is all about what's going to happen in the future. So with the Strength card, connected to imagination, the Strength card reminds us that fear only exists in the future conceptually, and therefore, because the future never actually exists in the present moment. Oh my God, my brain is like sore from thinking about this. Future only exists in the future. When you think about the future is always far away. The true the future never comes. It's always the present. The future never ends up coming. And so fear, if it exists in the present moment, it exists informed by the future, but it is not real. The threat doesn't actually exist. It only exists in our imagination until we pull it in. So really, our fear, we confirm our own fears all the time. So in the present moment, the more we're able to say in the present moment, I'm not afraid, like I'm afraid of what's going to happen in the future, but right now I'm in the present moment and none of those things are happening. So there's no need for me to have that fear in the present moment. If we're able to do that, and I know it's not easy, I'm not saying that it's easy, but if we're able to say that, we shed a certain energy. Because strength is also talks about courage. It gives us courage in the present moment to say, well, none of those things are actually happening in the present moment. Just saying that to yourself can be so powerful. And so we're not seeking to confirm the fear then, because we are shedding that energy. This is so, you know what? This is so topical for what's going on in my life right now that I am like blown away. So anyway, but when we are sitting and we're like, what's going to happen in the future? I'm so afraid this has happened in the past and this happened. I'm so afraid that this will happen. We will keep going until we confirm that fear and it gets added to the bank to confirm this fear. And that's why the Chariot and the Strength card are so connected, because the Chariot card was talking about what we believe in, what we have faith. If we have faith in ourselves, if we have belief in ourselves, we will make that faith makes sure that we are prepared enough. It's like if we believe that we can achieve a goal, we will believe so hard that we can achieve a goal that we will start preparing for the goal. By preparing to the goal, for the goal, we will build on that preparedness. As we build on that preparedness, that cultivates more faith, which cultivates more preparedness, which cultivates more faith, right? And then maybe we get to the Strength card, where we get to the Strength card with the Chariot card, where we talked about disappointments and maybe not achieving that goal. You can either, like we said in the Chariot card, you can either decide this is just a bump in the road and I have enough faith in myself to achieve this goal in the end, and just because I didn't achieve this goal this time around does not mean I will never achieve it. Or you can decide that that was a fail and I'm gonna like move on to a different goal, or I'm gonna change like my trajectory. But with that, the Strength card comes in to where you recognize, does your shadow activate and think of like worst possible situation and your fears seep in? Or does your tamer, the side of you that is taming this shadow side, that is that force within you, says, we can imagine the best case scenario. It's like this, let's say this is the tame version of you, yes, and this is the force. This is the actual power within you. You can say to the power within you, I know you're so powerful. I believe in you. I see you. I understand you. I've lived with you. I've observed you for so long. I know you can imagine something really, really brilliant. I know you can imagine something incredible. Rather than this fear that you're imagining, you can imagine something really, really, really cool. That this failure or this disappointment, that's not going to faze us. And that cultivates even more willpower, more courage, more strength. There's just something very profound about this connection between someone as in you, taming you. The Strength card is all about you taming that shadow side of you, which is also your force, which is also your like inner child in a way. So in a way, the Strength card is the card of parenting yourself. You are your own parent. You are your own caretaker. But you're also your own, like children are a joy, but they're also a burden. And in a way, Me, my perspective on children. No, I'm joking. It's like they are a burden in a way. Like it's like, but that depends on how you see them, right? They are a responsibility. So with the Chariot card, you need to recognize that when you're going after a goal and an aspiration, they're not going to be your only responsibility. The goals and the aspirations that you're going after and what you need to achieve, like there is going to be a level of responsibility around that, but don't you ever forget that there will also be, you are your own responsibility as well. And have you tamed your own energy enough? Have you been able to be responsible enough for yourself in order to go and achieve more goals and aspirations? And that's why the way that we live in society, where it's all about goals, what's next, what's the next promotion, what's the next job, well, we're asking that, but are most humans and people on earth even responsible enough for themselves as people in order to go after these things? Are they truly responsible for their own inner child enough, their own inner teenager, whatever it is you want to call it, their own inner shadow? Have they understood? Have they had space, observation? Were they able to observe themselves enough? Were they able to understand that shadow enough in order to even proceed with acquiring more goals and more aspirations and working on things that will require more responsibility? How do we make sure that we're just responsible for ourselves in a very solid and peaceful way first, before we go being responsible for extra things and extra elements of life? That's what the Strength card represents. Wow, this was interesting. It's the inner peace that comes from being friends with your shadow. I think the Strength card is so much more connected to the shadow than I anticipated, I think. It's that ability to be friends and peers with that side of you that feels erratic, instinctual, and really afraid and scared. And teaching it how to not be scared of you. It's like, how do you, like, the Strength card is all about not being scared of yourself. Not being scared of yourself. And I suppose with the Strength card being a Leo energy as well, there's an element of ego. It's like, how do you make sure that your ego is not scared of your shadow? Because the ego is constantly trying to... The ego... Okay, wait. Give me a second. The ego is formed out of the shadow. And so then the ego is trying to either hide the shadow, tame the shadow. If the ego is healthy, the ego can befriend the shadow. When the ego is unhealthy, the ego tries to force the shadow to comply. The Strength card is about your relationship, the relationship of your ego and your shadow. That's what I truly believe that now after this. Wow. It's the in the Strength card, the woman is the ego, but it's the embodiment of the healthy ego. Because the ego itself is not bad. Ego, it can be expressed in a healthy or an unhealthy way. Ego strives towards some sort of civilization. But the ego needs to recognize that no matter how civilized you try to be, you need to recognize that wild energy within you and understand it and love it and care for it, and not to disrespect it. Because the shadow is what created you. First, there was darkness, and then there was light. The light can't disrespect the darkness, because without the darkness, the light wouldn't exist. In the beginning, there was nothing, right? What did the Bible fucking say? I don't know. But isn't it, in the beginning, there was darkness, and then there was light. In the beginning, there was the shadow, and then there was the ego. And the ego needs to respect the shadow in order for the shadow to feel safe with the ego. Because if the ego does not respect the shadow will lash out. The shadow will act out. That's what the Strength card teaches us. Okay, that's what I have. That's what I have. I wish more people watched this. I also wish more people interacted and commented with their own, because I know there's people watching this and like having their own realizations and having their own thoughts on this. I know whoever you are that's watching this and you have something to say about this, please do. Please write the comment down and put it down, because I really feel like if we need to be discussing these things a lot more. There's something very like tarot is so profound and I love it, and it's just it's like tarot and astrology are just like the love of my life, and I just can't I can't let go of this energy right now. I'm just blown away by this reading. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful with the Nine of Cups. I'm so grateful to be doing this work. It's just, it makes me so happy. Anyway, if you like this reading, I don't even know what to call it, but like, please like, subscribe, and comment. Please comment and interact. You can also tip me if you like this. You can tip me on I was going to say on Patreon. You can join my Patreon if you want, but you can join me on, you can tip me on PayPal. The link is in the description box below, or you can tip me with the thanks button. It's like a super thanks button at the bottom of this video. Tips are very much appreciated. So I'm gonna leave it here. I hope you like this, enjoyed this. Wow, every single time I do these readings, I'm blown away. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for tarot. I don't know how to put it. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.